Kaila, kumusta? Maing buntag, maing udto, maing hapon, maing gabi sa itong mga ka-break time sa tibuok kalibutan. Break time na, mga higala. Kumusta itong mga ka-break time? Garagyo na itong sundan una ang SONA, State of the Nation Address ni Presidente Duterte sa Pilipinas, mga ka-break time. Atong paminaw na ang nagkadiyang mga update sa Pilipinas. Ilawab sa SONA ni Presidente Duterte.
Must be laughing while they start their dirty monies, but not for long. They cannot outrun the long arm of the law. In this regards, the words of former President Ramon Magsaysay ring fresh and relevant today as the day they were said decades ago. He said, "We need men of integrity and faith like Rizal and Del Pilar, men of action like Bonifacio, men of inflexible patriotism like Mabini. We need their zeal, their self-reliance, and their capacity to work, their devotion to service, and their ability to lose themselves in the common cause of building a nation. If we allow greed and self-interest and ambition to rule us, then as stated by one prominent physician, we will be left with nothing better than the lesser evil instead of the greater good." In my inaugural address 4 years ago, I said that no leader can succeed at anything of national importance without significance unless he has the cooperation and support of the people he is tasked to lead and sworn to serve. The efforts and resources which he poured out produced the momentum needed to bring our country closer to our goals. Suffice it to say, we made significant strides over time. Over 4.3 million poor families benefited from the Pantawid Pamilya. Over 92.2 million beneficiaries received subsidies under the unconditional cash transfer program. We also made available tertiary education and universal health care. Public utility drivers were given assistance to the Pantawid Pasada program. There are complaints that some drivers did not receive any assistance at all. I have directed the SWD and DIRG to look into this. I welcome the passage of the law postponing the barangay and sangguniang kabataan elections. The postponement saved much needed government funds and ensured the implementation of projects under the current barangay officials. In the hindsight, it also saved us from holding the polls while we dealt and continue to deal with the pandemic. The Malasakit Centers Act has proven to be a great help to our less fortunate citizens needing medical services through one-stop platform in government hospitals. We commend the initiative and work of Senator Bongo in this regard, as well as other significant pieces of legislation as of today. There are 75 malasakit centers serving Filipinos all over the country. These centers will be of great help in ensuring that our people remain healthy and resilient during these challenging times. The Salary and Standardization Law of 2019 increases the salaries of civilian government workers. I hope that this law will inspire our government workers to perform better and encourage young, brilliant citizens to join public service. I appreciate the law of establishing the National Academy of Sports. We can now give our deserving student athletes the training and the support they need to excel in their chosen field of endeavor. With the commitment of key members of Congress, the Executive Department, the FISGO, or the Philippine Sports Commission, and the Philippine Olympic Committee, we're bound together with one vision to host the 30th Southeast Asian Games. Our athletes prevailed. More than that, we fostered pride, patriotism, genuine sportsmanship, and camaraderie in our South Asian brothers and sisters. Indeed, we won as one. To our business community and the general public, we assure you that the landmark ease of doing business and efficient government service delivery act has been gaining momentum. We are closer to eliminating over-regulation in government services. Frontline processes, including consular services, processing of building and business permits, and the services of overseas Filipinos and seafarers were streamlined. Passports and driver's license validity were lessened to ease the burden of the public. We received a BBB plus credit rating despite ASEAN credit rating downgrades and negative outlook revisions worldwide. The Japan Credit Rating Agency upgraded us from BBB plus to A minus last month. Meanwhile, Moody's has affirmed and maintained the country's ratings at BB2, Baa2 rather. To understand, because of the light, I have mine eyesight is not as good as new. Our fiscal position is strong, our economic fiscal management prudent, and our banking system robust. We are in a better position to weather the crisis caused by COVID-19 global pandemic. We have accomplished significant infrastructure projects under the Build program. I will not dwell lengthily on the nitty-gritty of our infrastructure accomplishments. Now, lest I bore you. Instead, we will release a comprehensive written report of our collective milestones and the details of accomplishments that remind us that perseverance, patience, determination will help us move forward even in the most difficult times. We issued last year Executive Order number 100, establishing the Diversity and Inclusion Program as national program of the government. We want to end discrimination of persons on the basis of age, disability, ethnicities, sexual orientation, and gender identity and expression, and other character traits. My administration always believed that freedom from illegal drugs, terrorism, corruption, and criminality is itself a human right violation. Part of our efforts to uphold human rights is protection of the rights of children and the right against discrimination. Early last year, I signed Executive Order number 92, creating the National Council Against Child Labor. Government efforts to protect the rights of children will be amplified to prevent, reduce, and eliminate any form of child labor. Our achievements along this line will have been extolled by an overwhelming number of fellow member states in the UN Human Rights Council during its recently held 44th session last June. Rest assured that we will not dodge our obligation to fight for human rights. My countrymen, there are lessons to be learned from the coronavirus pandemic. It jolted us to realize that gains made after spending so much planning, effort, cost, and time could diminish considerably and quickly for reasons beyond one's anticipation. That it is much easier to destroy than build. That in a crisis of national proportion that affects every aspect of human life, government needs to have the support and cooperation of the people if it is to succeed in battling the cause of that crisis. That there are people who ask for compassion but show none themselves. That life, after all, is fickle like the weather. The gains we achieved for the first 3.5 years were put to a test when the pandemic suddenly struck the global community. While I am aware that the road towards a comfortable life would all be far easy if the pandemic had not occurred, and around the rest of the world we suffered. The global scale and socio-economic impact of COVID-19 pandemic has been unprecedented. Yet, in the throes of its global health emergency, we have been able to withstand the headwinds generated by this coronavirus. In this regard, I would like to express my gratitude to all those who made possible the steady supply of food, water, basic utilities of our households. And the provisions of basic social services and financial assistance to our people. Our profound gratitude goes to everyone who helped keep our country's food supply chain running. The valiant soldiers, policemen, and security guards who kept peace and order in our community. the dedicated personnel who kept our essential establishment operational. You showed us kindness and selflessness. You gave us strength. You risked your own lives to serve the greater good in keeping the Filipino spirit of bayanihan. I also thank the men and women of the Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases and the National Task Force Against COVID-19 for all the countless hours it spent to keep the pandemic in check and for all the efforts it made to ensure the safety of our people. Let me also recognize the efforts of the local government units that step up and initiated their own response measures to contain effects of COVID-19 and its impact to their constituents have been impact its constituents. The shadow says it's a period there. I know exactly the difficulties you are undergoing. I pray that the officials of each LGU in our country, from the barangay to the autonomous regions, would set aside partisan politics and selfish interests to do what is right and good for all. Likewise, I likewise issued Executive Order number 104, which imposed ceilings on retail prices of at least 133 drugs and medicines and directed a continuous review of the retail prices of others. This proved to be providential now that we are facing a pandemic. To everyone who helped us in this time of great need, maraming salamat po. Let me
and to Congress, to the people of the Philippines, it's time for the Nation Address.
Wato ang tipik Mangilan naputo lang atong tubilon nato ibalik makatadtod. Panagaman nagpaminaw sa atong talamanan break time ning adlaw nga Lunes pit sa 20 City na sa buwan sa Hulyo. Mga ka-break time, kumusta mo diha? Kumusta? Live sa karon sa atong YouTube channel sa Mannysales Break Time channel sa YouTube. Pwede mo makatara sa dito o gusto sa mga katikaran update sa mga katikaran sa ditong dapita mga ka-break time. Ato nang karon natong padangat karon sa pay ubang update nining SONA's presidente mga ka-break time. Kumusta mo diha? Kumusta mo diha? Kumusta? Atong isgutan yang tadtaod kining problema sa COVID-19. Okay.
Lead to the Batasang Pambansa in Quezon City on this fourth Monday of July. But will be missing some of the usual pomp and circumstance in this
We will
age.
catch up with you sooner than you think. We came up with the COVID-19 Adjustment Measures Program, extended financial assistance to over 650,000 affected individuals in the formal sector, 110 OFWs abroad, and almost 83,000 repatriated OFWs were also provided temporary wage employment to displace marginal workers through the TUPAD project. Our indigent senior citizens were also provided with a stipend for the rest of the semester of the year current year. This health emergency stretched government's resources to its limits. In response to the Office of the President, worked closely with Congress for the quick passage of the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act. May I again reiterate my thanks to you, the men and women of Congress, for the effort you invested in passing that law. I hope that we can get some or the same treatment of clarity, purpose, and the fastness to support the passage of the Bayanihan Recover to Act as One, which is supplement funds for recovery and response against the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. We must facilitate the country's economic recovery. I call on Congress to fast-track the passage of the proposed measure, such as the Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives Enterprises or CREATE Act. This immediately cuts the corporate income levy from the current 30 to 25% and give government flexibility to grant a combination of fiscal and non-fiscal incentives, among others. The financial institution strategic transfer, or first step, will set up mechanisms allowing banks and other financial institutions to dispose of and transfer non-performing assets or loans to asset management companies similar to the special purpose vehicles. Our economic managers have seen infrastructure investment as an effective tool to help spur high growth, attract investments, create jobs, and achieve financial inclusion for all Filipinos. The DBP has resumed the construction of the North Luzon Expressway Harbor Link, the NLEX SLEX Connector, the Cavite-Laguna Expressway, the Metro Manila Skyway Stage 3, the R1 Bridge Project, the Tarlac-Pangasinan-La Union Expressway Project, and the subtensive and not mere springboard for the country to swift pandemic. They are its economic benefits to be distributed to all corners of the country and for sustainable stability in the urban centers, particularly Manila. The TESTA launched
Manny's iPhone disconnected.
Pwede mo nagpambinaw sa tulong ng break time, niningadlaw nga Lunes na putol na tong connection. Kumusta mo diha? Kumusta mo diha? Ito lang yung pimusta higayon nga ito dungan mo na kog paminaw sa suna ni Presidente Duterte dito sa Pilipinas mga ka-break time. Samtang ta nagpaminaw atong gipaabot nga atong ma-reconnect itong balik. Ang atong connection dito. Salamat sa mga nagsunod. Padeng kaya po kamo nagpamina sa tutong break time o niya sa itong mga nagsunod karon sa Facebook Live, mga ka-break time, pwede mo makasod, makabisita sa itong YouTube channel, sa Mannysales Break Time channel sa YouTube. Inyo lang kuan dito, no? Inyo lang bisitahin lang po ninyo. Punta malinga dito. Salamat dito. Salamat kayo sa nagsunod nato mga higala. Si Kuya Ike Ferrare na karon sa atong linya mga higala. Manang atong gipabot uban natong mga makauban sa atong tulumanon ning adlaw Lunes mga ka-break time. Ako gipanudman ato mga ka-break time nining adlaw ng Lunes para sab kamong nagtan-aw sa atong Facebook Live onya simultaneously sa atong YouTube channel mga ka-break time sa Mannysales break time channel mga higala. Bisitahin lang po dito. Kumusta hon sa nato si Kuya Ike Ferraren. Kuya Ike Ferraren, kumusta ka diha? Mayong buntag? Hinay kang imong hinay imong pasok. Kumusta ka diha? Salamat kayo. Ubay. Akong gi-feed una karon ang suna ni Presidente Duterte ato sang sundan.
We prime the recovery and rehabilitation of the MSMEs. The DTI to the Small Business Corporation set up the Philippine 1 billion COVID assistance to restart enterprises or CARES program to provide zero interest loans for MSMEs affected by the pandemic as of July 10, 2020. Over 2,600 loans applications worth more than 182.5 million have been approved. We are optimistic the initiative our MSMEs stabilize and recover from their losses. I also join the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas and the banks operating in the country to provide regulatory relief for our MSMEs and allow loan payment extension without incurring penalties and charges. We need your help to prevent the collapse of companies saddled with accumulated amortization and payables caused by closure of their businesses at the height of the state quarantine periods. As we embark on this effort towards inclusive recovery, we should acknowledge that all forms of government support will go to naught if the new MSMEs do not thrive because of lack of consumer support. Ito ang panahon para suportahan natin ang ating mga kababayan na nagninegosyo at gumawa ng mga produktong sariling atin. In the same manner, in tourism and recreation industries, which are among the hardest hit by the pandemic, count on our full support while we slowly try to put the fun back in your local travels. The national government agencies and LGUs must harmonize their policies to boost tourism, ensuring everyone's well-being. We enjoin our people to help boost the economy by traveling locally. Local na lang. Once the necessary systems are in place. The DOST offers its enterprise technology upgrading program to enable businesses to access training that will help them transition to online and contactless operation. Now more than ever, we need to protect our consumers. I direct the Department of Trade and Industry to ensure the empowerment of Filipinos on consumer rights and coordinate strategies between public and private organizations in building a fair, safe, resilient, and sustainable economy. There are welcome developments for commerce and industry, but major economic activities take place in borderless environment with the meager regulatory controls. They expose consumers to various risks related to security, data, privacy, and misrepresentation. We must patrol the country's cyberspace and enforce online consumer and data protection and privacy laws. We must run after online scammers and those undermining the people's trust on the online transactions. We must continue to protect Filipinos in the normal and remind the world that we are responsible stewards of data. I am committed to protect both physical and digital lives of our law-abiding countrymen. The national government shall lead the way in our transition to online systems. I reiterate my call for all government instrumentalities to implement systems that shall make physical queuing a thing of the past. Panahon na para mawala na ang pila para mapagsilbihan ang gobyerno ng walang pahirapan para sa tao. The DILG, DBM, and the ARTA, along with all agencies and instrumentalities of government, are hereby directed to make full possible services available online. We need to adjust and adapt a paperless type of business and work performance. We need governance, our people with the services they need and the comfort of their homes in the workplaces. It will enable our bureaucracy to better transition into the new normal and cut red and minimize red tape. Until the COVID-19 vaccine is available, I will not allow the traditional face-to-face teaching or learning unless the risk of exposure to the sickness are eliminated. I cannot and will not put to rest the health and lives of our students and teachers. So yung about 2 weeks ago, I seem to have said that I would allow the face-to-face classes to resume. But we were talking actually of January, because my thinking is that by September, we would have the vaccine. How to get it from the producers or from other governments is really something which we have to deal with, because everyone, it's a global need, and everyone will go for it. But let me just mention it in passing that about 4 days ago, I made a plea to President Xi Jinping that if they have the vaccine, can they allow us to be one of the first, or if it's needed, if we have to buy it, that we will be granted credit so that we can normalize as fast as possible. Life that is lost forever. Courses that are not substantial can be supplemented. Education that is delayed can be recovered. We must implement online learning, modular learning, and TV and radio-based broadcasts, which students coming from different backgrounds can avail. DepEd will provide the printed modules for those who cannot afford online learning. In support of the learning continuity program through blended learning, we plan to increase the number of schools with ICT equipment in the coming months. The DepEd and the DITC are building up the public education network, or PEN, that will connect all schools and DepEd offices nationwide. We will prioritize the connection of all last mile schools and those with no electricity supply and have it via satellite and energized via solar panels. By 2022, before I step down, the pen shall be realized. I'm referring to the program. I will do it. TV frequencies reverted back to government for whatever cause or reason shall not be used exclusively to the exclusion of other persons or other dummies to cope up with the demand of the next normal. This will be used to provide uninterrupted quality education to our children in our shift to e-learning. I am directing Secretary Guevara, Secretary De La Peña, and Secretary Onasan, in collaboration with Secretary Briones and Secretary Abisado, together with Secretary Dominguez, to come up with an integrated program and implementation mechanism to ensure that these TV frequencies are fully utilized by government through the facilities of the PTV4 for the utmost benefit of the Filipino people. Let me just allow me to segue a little bit. for the remaining 2 years of my term. All that is good that belongs to government, whether it be the airwaves, whether it be the lines, or whatever that is good for the people, will belong to the government, and it should be government who should be given the first option to utilize them. Ang sobra kanila. I call on our communication companies to improve their services lest we be forced to take drastic steps to address the less than deal service that the public is getting from you. Alam mo, sisingit na lang ako dito. I am sometimes your government picture to be weak and incompetent because we cannot really force our mandate. Alam mo itong nagbibigay ng mga public services. You better improve. Huwag naman ninyo kaming pahintayin 10 taon bago kami makakamit ng mga services that the other countries are enjoying. If it's just a question of added capitalization or the infusion of money, go and look for it. Maghanap kayo because if you are not ready to improve, no, I might just as well close all of you and we revert back to the line telephone. At kukunin ko yan, i-expropriate ko sa gobyerno. Alam mo itong, I'll be straight, smart. Pati itong globe, ilang taon na ito. At ang sagot palagi sa akin, the party cannot be reached. Saan pa na pumunta yung yawa na yun? Eh kung gano'n lang naman ibigay niyo sa amin, we are a republic, a sovereign country. Bear that in mind because the patience of the Filipino people is reaching its limit. As I will be the one to articulate the anger of the Filipino people. And you might not want what I intend to do with you. Kindly improve the services before December. I want to call Jesus Christ to Bethlehem. Better have that line cleared. Alam, sa totoo lang atin na ako sa inyo. I have been a citizen of this country and parang nilalaro lang ninyong kayong may pera. Puta. May pera kayo? Negosyo kayo. Wala kayong pera, puta. Umalis kayo dito. You give us half bills, half cook, transactions, lousy service. Tapos ang tao nagbabayad. Tell us now if you cannot really improve on it. Because I will work by December. I have 2 years. The next 2 years will be spent improving the telecommunications of this country. without you. I will find a way. I will talk to Congress and find a way how to do it. Last year, I said that distributing economic business activities is imperative to our country's sustained and equitable growth. Today, I reiterate that statement. I issued Administrative Order Number 18, directing concerned agencies to strengthen the development of special economic zones in areas outside Metro Manila. I also issued Executive Order Number the same 114 to institutionalize the Balik Probinsya Bagong Pag-asa program. This consolidates and refocuses existing economic and social welfare programs, activities, and projects toward the countryside. It is also an international agency council headed by Executive Secretary Salvador Medellía, which will create a framework for the effective implementation of the project. Kung hindi ninyo ako naiintindihan sa sinabasa ko, mas lalo ako. In 2021, we aim to increase access to healthcare services by continuously hiring and deploying more than 20,000 health professionals. This will augment health workforce in LGUs, particularly in isolated and disadvantaged areas. We will implement projects to establish and improve barangay health stations, rural health units, and other healthcare facilities. And we will need to address internal security. We are pursuing a whole of the nation approach to bring peace and order, development in the countryside. We need to provide intervention and implement the barangay development program. This will provide cleared and threatened communities. And this refers to a program where the armed forces would play a vital role in the one nation approach. This is what it's meant by it. And that every agency of the government, including the armed forces of the Philippines, should participate. And I am aware of the skirmishes and the assassination of our soldiers. And I said, correct this so that we can proceed with the barangay implementation as fast as possible. We have made significant strides in the past 4 years, but we need the support of local government leaders. We need your help to implement the barangay development program. Certain sectors expressed concern when I declared martial law in Mindanao and its extension 3 times. But 2019 ended without my office requesting any further extension. Martial law in Mindanao ended without abuses by the civilian sector, by the police, by the military. Only because this time I know that they know how to love the country. I thank Congress for the support to this administration program. Congress has been very productive, but much more remains to be done. You know, actually, my speech, if you followed it carefully, it's all a plea to Congress to do this, to do that, to make a law or craft a whatever. On this one, I strongly urge Congress to pass a law establishing the Department of Overseas Filipinos solely on addressing the concerns of Filipinos abroad and their families. I reiterate this swift passage before before this. Kawawa kasi itong ating mga overseas. If it's only an office there in the Labor Department, they are overworked or for whatever reason, their needs, their pleas are not really attended to with dispatch and with care. Yung OFW, pati itong ano ngayon, ito yung sinabi kanina, I will go for it. We will need it to help them. I reiterate the swift passage of a law reviving the death penalty by lethal injection for crimes specified under the Comprehensive Dangerous Act of 2002. I did not hear so much clapping, so I presume that they are not interested. Wala ka mo. Someday I'll tell you the story of what happened to the Philippines. Hindi ngayon. But when I'm sabihin ko sa inyo ang totoo, bakit nagaganito yung droga ng Pilipinas? Why the drug syndicates continue to operate just like the countries of Colombia, Mexico, and it is being played inside the national penitentiary. Para tayong talagang binababoy tayo. Sabihin ko sa inyo. But this is not a time for storytelling. Sona kasi ito. So, dito lang. This law will not only help us deter criminality, but also save our children from the dangers posed by the illegal and dangerous drugs. May I be allowed with the indulgence of the body? Itong bakit talaga ako galit sa droga. Let us make this a semi-formal speech. Alam mo kasi, 5 pamilya, members, o 6 o 7. Pagka bumagsak yung tatay to drugs, the family crumbles. There's no more home. Droga, and if he's receiving his salary, nagtatrabaho sa pantanan, 300 a day. Tapos ang shabu is sold at 2. He has about 100 to bring home. Kaya pagka gano'n, nag-aaway-aaway na. Ang mga bata, hindi na pag-aral. Ang iba, ligaw na. Mga babae, into early prostitution. Kung ano-ano nangyari. Hindi lang alam nitong mga na this is happening all over the country every day. And what is really very tragic is this. When the family starts to crumble, there's no more family home. And invariably, the wife would look for another husband who look for a job, usually easily doon sa abroad. At yung asawa, aalis, yung lalaki na sa droga, yung mga anak iniiwan sa kapitbahay, sa kapatid. And the ferocity of the loss of the Filipino family home has been destroyed. Kaya kung anong mangyari nito, the wife works in the Middle East. I am not zeroing on any particular country, mind you. But alam naman, there are tribes in the Middle East which would allow rape as part of the territory of being a house help. Kasama yan. Kasama talaga. So yan ang mahirap dyan. You have a wife that being crucified, being used, magpadala ng pera, tapos ang mga anak, kasi nasa Cebu na rin. Kasi these are the guys that the Cebu people would really, stick by them until it crumbles, the resistance. And then you have plenty of this all over the country. Nila alam. Yung sinasabi nila ng misery sa human rights, plus 10 yan. Not to count the victims of crimes perpetrated by people addicted to. That is the reason why I'm so vicious in my galit talaga. Nilalaroan tayo. Well, I don't know. Any other president might, pero ako ayaw kong lalaroan ng Pilipino. Do not do it in my country because I will really kill you. That is a commitment. Owning safe, decent, and affordable housing is every Filipino's dream. But the housing market remains inaccessible to most of our countrymen. I renew my call for Congress to pass the National Housing Development Bill and the Rental Housing Subsidy Bill. This will enable all Filipinos, regardless of social status, to live in decent homes where their families can lead meaningful lives. I also call on Congress to amend Republic Act number 10912 for the Continuing Professional Development Act of 2016. This time of great pandemic and forthcoming reconstruction requiring professionals to undergo seminars is burdensome and not realistic. This must end. Ito pang isa. May mga profession. Singit ko na lang lahat. This is to inform the nation. May mga profession na they would require, I think it's nicer, they would require them to come to Manila to retrain and for another round of expenses. Itong mga seminar na ito, dapat mahinto. I don't know in other provinces, but during my time yung sa barangay expeditions ng mga opisyal, hininto ko rin yan. And, which reminds me, I will up on this also due time. We hail our health professionals as heroes. Now is the time to pass the Advanced Nursing, yan ho, Nursing Education Act and the law instituting the Medical Reserve Corps. COVID-19 will not only be the last pandemic. We need to create National Disease Prevention Management Authority to better respond to future outbreaks. We count on Congress to full support. You can just let it remain for a while in the Department of Health kung wala pang pera, but you have to expand the services. It would also entail a little bit of money, but not really as much as expensive when you set up a department. In the long term, we are looking into the creation of the National Disease Prevention and Management Authority to better prepare for the pandemic, protect lives, and allow development to proceed even in the worst of times. We are counting on the full support of Congress for this critical, important endeavor. I don't know, but I leave it to Congress to really. It's another department. There seems it could be a multi-layer, redundant thing between the health and the proposed department. I call on Congress to prioritize the passage of a law for the unified system of separation, retirement, and pension, and of the military and uniformed personnel without, however, diminishing the benefits that our uniformed personnel are entitled to under the existing laws. There is a need to adjust the pension system, which will be applicable only to the newly hired uniformed personnel, so as not to cause a ballooning effect against the budget of the military in the years to come, and yet maintain the pension benefits those already in service under the present law. This issue needs a solution now. Umpisa natin ngayon para hindi na maging problema sa sunod na mga taon. I want to, one of the, this is not politicking, I am not running, I cannot run anymore. Yung dinoble ko yung sweldo ng police pati army, it was really a clarion call para for them also to have decent life and that they're able to get the things which ordinarily cannot be reached by any government employee. Ang akin doon is yung corruption. That maybe it might be a vain attempt, but maybe dagdagan ng sweldo para it could be a hedge against corruption. We must also modernize the Bureau of Fire Protection and the Bureau of Immigration with urgency. Alam mo, sa Davao, and if you go there, I can show you. One of the serviceable trucks, fire trucks that we have in the city of Davao. Of course, ang city meron ng sarili. Aside from the Bureau of Fire, which is really national. Meron yung Bureau of Fire, would you believe it, serviceable still. Ang pangalan ng truck is Studebaker. Ang katawan, ang talagang matatag ang katawan. Kaya ang makina isuso. Pero okay pa rin. It can put out. But, totoo. This is how this Bureau of Fire issue medyo na overlook natin ng matagal. I emphasize the creation of the Department of Disaster Resilience and our people's safety, which cannot be delegated to any council or commission. Equally important is establishment of the evacuation center in every city, province, municipality throughout the country. We must act before another major disaster shakes into action. Problem, disaster, and even a fire cannot be made a study for projection when the earthquake would suddenly come and make a big crack there. Hindi natin alam talaga. Ang ibig kong sabihin, this will require more than just one brain work kung paano talaga ito, how to prevent or avoid disaster. Could be, by the way, just before starting, I was tempted to say it. Pero baka magtindigan kayo. It will be all right for me if Bongo will just say, wala akong problema. Sabi ko na this piece of speech of mine would be one of the longest sonas that I will deliver. Nakita ko yung page pagbigay sa akin. Yung ibang input akin. Pati yung iba lahat. Ang nangyari po, binalik ko sa kanila. Make it short. Pagbalik sa akin, mas makapal na. Nandyan na ngayon. Ito na ngayon. The responsible extraction and equitable distribution of natural resources remain among my non-negotiables. I reiterate the need for the passage of the National Land Use Act, which has been pending for decades. Pakisilip lang ho ninyo. For the rest of my term, I hope to see concerted efforts in protecting the environment. The rehabilitation of Boracay Island showcased our resolve to safeguard the environment. Boracay is doing well because of its scenery. If it's only a coconut and a black sand, white sand and water, wala yan. Pero you are we have seen remarkable emergence for Victoria. I ask Congress to enact a law creating importante ito. Boracay Island Authority or BIDA. I cannot stress enough the importance of agriculture. The growth of our economy depends on the robust agricultural sector. We must utilize the coconut levy for the welfare of our coconut farmers and the development of our coconut industry. I urge everybody, both of the executive department,
The total Anyway, nindot na ang imong gwana. Maya ka ng imong di sa mga fishing ka ng imong one. Mga kabreak, pasensya ha. Kay ang atong connection may kalag kaputol para kaganyan nagputol-putol man. Pero ato na ning i-summarize ugma sa atong break time ug mga adlaw. Kuya Ike, ato makaban ng mga adlaw sa atong break time. Anya 40 o sa ka oras o 11 minutos. Pero ito i-summarize ng mga kuan. Kato naman kong kuan, katong gisulti ni Presidente Duterte, mga ka-break time. Tanan ako, rin naman na angay nagpa sabot sa mga katawhan. Simple, kayo nga pagpasabot. Tinudunay nga panarbis sa mga maginda ba? Niya, ba ingon nga bula-bulatik ba? Kanabang binisaya pa bulaki dungagan o kanang paunod-unod sa istorya. Pasabot ko itong mga tao to, direct to the point. Yes. Oh. Yes. At least na parts ta sa kuno sa SONA, ang ikalimang SONA ni Presidente Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Isa ka limang tuig niya mga ka-break time atong napabati kaninyo pero ato ning is good ato pang hatagan pagdugang update ng ato mga ka-break time sa masunod to nga mga panaguban sa ubang adlaw. Ato sang timbayawon nato ni mga ka-break time nga nag-birthday karong higuna. Happy birthday day ni Razel Barafon, nag-birthday karong adlaw. Saan ka nag-birthday karon? Si Bajik Consol, nag-birthday karon. Happy birthday kayong tanan sa tanang nag-birthday. Unya mga tag-dispensa sa akong sa ato mga ka-break time kay after sa atong launching sa Mannysales Break Time channel sa YouTube nga itong milabayng Lunes. Naigo man ta sa kuan sa hindi kay seryoso kay nakatingog pumantahan karon na emergency ta nitong milabay semana unya atong gipa-check ang nagpa-check ta nagpa-swab ta sa COVID nagdawa tong result salamat na kay negative muna nakatingog ta karon. Atong Lunes man god na data sa emergency na Lunes after sa Martes na data sa emergency atong naghanong ko ta naman gud ta ka sa tong YouTube channel atong following day kay na emergency ta kasaka nakasway tag sa kahinoon og ambulansya Kuya Ike nag-chest pain ta unya nasa favor dai motong ang akong gikakuyawan pagabot na ko sa emergency gilahos man kog sud sa COVID di ka kuyaw-kuyawan na di ka kuyaw-kuyawan niya na ano na ako kung pa may launching may pagsugod sa tong Mannysales break time dito mo tas COVID paingon pero mga ka-break time ato nang isgutag dugang bahin na ng atong sitwasyon kaya doon na tayo ma-experience na yung tayong kwanta ka ng drive-thru check sa COVID ato man na-experience manang di mo kumpiyansa. Dungan ko tatog update ato lang nagdugangan no kay doon na magud tay ko ano doon tay ano man yung atong ay ko iban ma tuyok magkalibutan. O dia bida May pagpuminaw di ay nila ni Kuya Binbilido Sales, ni MK. Good morning ni Jose Ponte Oracion, ni Jonah Barafon. Good morning Adi Magbidi. Good morning ni Marjorie Vasquez. Nagpaminaw na to sa atong tulungan sa break time. Ato lang ning sayog ko karatong break time gumikan to sa Sunas presidente. Aron mapasabot sa makatawhan pinagisad sa atong channel nga kabay na sa mga kaliukan karon sa update sa atong nasod nga Pilipinhon mga ka-break time. Tanan na lang nag-celebrate karon ha, Merry birthday naman. Opo ni Pasko, dali kayong Pasko para mag-Pasko nagdali-dali. Happy birthday sa tanang nag-birthday karon. Onyas na ng anniversary, happy anniversary sa atong mga kapatid sa Iglesia ni Cristo, nag 106th anniversary na adlawan na July 27 na mga ka-break time. Onya ta ning dungagan Kuya Ike, ugma Kuya Ike, ha? Pero mangutana una, og disagi ka ng imong kasag. Nag-fishing mo, nagkuhan mo gahapon dai? dili pa pwede, basta pa dili pa pwede. Kay anya salamat kayo sa atong mga nagsunod, no? Mangutana ko sa update na sa Bohol. Doon na tulo ka patay sa Bohol sa COVID-19, mga ka-break time. Tulo ang patay, lalimang ka. Doon ay 20 ang active COVID-19 sa Bohol. Doon na hinay 56 ang recoveries so far sa Bohol, mga ka-break time. Ang kuan magud nini kay doon na local transmission sa Bohol. Sa miyagi magud kay ay ang tanan kamangod, no, katong ilisay katong locally stranded individuals katong nanguli gikan sa lang probinsya miadtong Bohol, pag check pa didto kay doon na mo sila 14 days mandatory quarantine. Pag check pa nila dunay na positive mo nakasagaran nga positive COVID-19 recorded sa Bohol gikan na sa mga ilisay. Karon doon na nadugang sa numbers of infected Boholanos sa probinsya sa Islas Bohol nga gihon community transmission. Mo na nga di nagita magkumpiyansa nya dunay resolution ang sangguniang panlalawigan pagduso na nining mga fines o kining penalties ngadto sa mga mo pagod, no, dili mo sunod sa mga protocols nining pagpatuman pugong nga digud maka-spread out pag-ayo ang COVID-19 sa probinsya sa Bohol. Dunay penalty, dunay imprisonment pa ang giduso sa sangguniang panlalawigan. Labot dinhi agin sab sa daliwa sa gipatuman nga curfew sa probinsya sa Bohol, Kuya Ike, alas 9 sa gabi hangtod sa alas 5 kung ako nasayop. Atong dugang kagisgot yung mga anlawa sa atong break time sa atong mga nagsunod karon balik taugma, no, ato isgutan kini nga mga update na sa Bohol, mga ka-break time. Kung 18 years old pa boss, pag din allowed na anang anang time nga tong ingon o niya 65 years old pataas ang nindapita ang gididaan nga magawa sa mga oras sa curfew, mga ka-break time. Muna sa Bohol, mga higala. So, kung lang yun, no? Atong sundo nun sa gipatuman sa gobyerno, sa atong sundo sa gipatuman sa mga tulugyanan sa health, mga ka-break time, kining kanunay nga panghunaw, pag pangugas sa inyong kamot kung sa may mahawiran diha, mao mo gunay ang ngayon himot o kining social distancing nga atong sundon unsa nga kining paggamit og face mask, mga ka-break time sa gayon nga kamo mogawas sa inyong Pinoyanan. Ang mas epektibo kayo kanyang himuon, stay at home. Pagpuyo mo sa inyong bahay, sa mga bulanon ba pagpudyo lagi mo sa inyong mga tagsitag sa mga Pinoyanan o di mo mugawas o dili gud importante kaayo karon malayo nga makatakod mo o kamo matakdan kay matakdan gani mo kung mo gika mo balik mo sa Pinoyanan lahos gud na purot ng imong sakop sa imong pamilya ug di ka magbantay gyud di ba kaya Ike? Ayun. Lisod kayo. Oh. O niya, taas-taas ang kayo. Doon na patay appointment manggod mga ka-break time natong tindihan karon. Atol pasalamat ta sa ato nakuhag connection kaganina sa suna ni Presidente Duterte. Kasamtangan nga mo end sa atong live stream karon sa YouTube channel. Kuya Ike, no, sa atong YouTube channel, ayaw ka kalimot sa Mannysales break time, ang atong mga ka-break time nga dunay mga account dali ra sad kaninyo mo subscribe, pili mo subscribe, i-like sa ninyo para kapinin lang po ninyo og share sa ding atong break time program. Iwa't makahatag tagdugang nga mga updates, mga higala concerning sa atong sitwasyon karon sa atong itubang nga COVID-19 ug uban sa mga balita concerning sa prison order sa atong probinsya, sa atong nasod nga Pilipino ug laban sang mga katikaran kalambuan sa atong sitwasyon karon sa pagamhanang nasyonal o lokal. Salamat kayo si Migs si Migs Migs Umapas Jr. Salamat kayo sa Migs Food and Travel Vlog TV. Hello po, shout out po. Salamat kayo. Salamat kayo. Congrats. Abot na mo tag 100 pila na itong 100 plus na atong mga subscribers sa atong YouTube channel. Salamat kayo sa tanang mga nag-subscribe sa atong tulumanon. Katong mga ka-break time na to sa Facebook Live, i-subscribe lang po ng atong break time channel sa YouTube. Aron sad atong ma-update mo sa atong mga katikaran o makatamang sad ta o kung sa magaling sa mahimong resulta nini sa mga katapos ato nagipasabot sa launching sa atong break time na atong milabayng Lunes mga ka-break time. Nya do na patay ko nato ni sunda ato lang ning dungagan og isgot pa para na sa kining update no sa buhol sa COVID-19. Salamat kayo Kuya Ike no sa imong pagkuyog na ko karon sa atong paghatag pagduso pag-connect sa atong magka-break time sa suna ni Presidente Duterte. Ato nang isgot ang dugang ugma promise ato mga katawhan sa atong mga break time Kuya Ike. Daghang ka daw higayon nga kunsa panawagan sa atong mga katawhan para ugma. Yes. Anyway, salamat kayo. Atong ugmang adlaw mga ka-break time sa atong tulon sa YouTube channel sa Mannysales Break Time atong gipalanog atong suna ni Presidente Duterte. Atong ipabati ang kurson ugma sa uban tong mga importante nga atong ipalanog ipahibaw sa mga ka-break time ilabi na sa mga OFW na nagpaminaw mga higala sa atong tulungan sa break time. Si Mr. Chris Rackley, good morning sir. Good morning. Salamat kayo kong Osbon para sa mga ka-break time, mayong buntag, mayong udto, mayong hapon, mayong gabi sa itong mga ka-break time sa tibuok kalibutan.